Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Grimlore. You may notice it is I, your accomplished, gorgeous, and generally awe-inspiring Pirate King, leading the introduction on this episode. That is because today we take a step back from our usual programming for all of your science fiction and fantasy needs and are instead once again covering lore, which is not well known. Not known at all, in fact. This is because the lore for today's episode is my own personal setting, a land known as Andilmiros, a land of high fantasy which plays with familiar topics in new ways, making something entirely fresh. Who is interrupting my monologue? This is terrible. Oh, for the love of, what are you doing in the footlocker? Get out!
You're the one that put me there.
How did I? For what purpose? I can't remember.
I don't know, but I just felt a shadow come over me, and then I was black-bagged and shoved into a footlocker.
Are you sure it was me?
I don't know, but I heard your dulcet tones.
My dulcet tones are heard everywhere. That is no basis for an accusation of kidnapping.
No, but being a Drugi definitely makes you a likely suspect.
When did you get here? Did you just walk in through the door like a normal person instead of smuggling yourself in my footlocker?
No, I went in through the window. I guess you can call me an intruder.
Still more normal than the footlocker.
How are you an intruder in your own tavern?
I forgot my
Is this
keys.
a coup? I know you made new moves in Nagaroth, but I thought the tavern was safe.
I have stolen nothing from your tavern. You are merely in my footlocker that I have brought with me.
I can't believe I'm doing this. I'll write down the summoning rune here. Blood for the blood god.
Oh, wait.
Damn time.
Oh, fuck. Cocksucker's here.
You wanted it, you asked for it, and now it's here. What I'm going to do, I don't know. Why I'm here, I don't know.
Make sure the jerky doesn't do anything to me. Or shove me back into his footlocker when we're done.
I promise nothing.
He's going to put his foot in your locker, that's for sure.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Why am I the target of this suspicion? If anything, you should be asking me for help from the demon you just summoned.
I can be a friendly demon at times.
Oh, sure, plenty friendly. From behind,
That's what it takes.
I'm pretty sure it's not if it's what it takes. It's much more, it's because I'm going to make that be what it takes. Or make them take it.
Oh, dear God. I'm not even nearly high enough for this. Where's my fucking warp stone?
Either way, so before I was ever so rudely interrupted by Gerald's sudden consciousness inside of my footlocker, I was trying to monologue to myself.
Hey Ray, grab me one of the best whiskeys we got from the shelf. I'm actually kind of interested in hearing this.
Is it still a monologue if we're all here?
No,
or are
I
you
believe
giving
it's
us a
called a
speech now?
soliloquy.
No, it's been ruined. Now it's a presentation.
Ah.
You know, if we all leave, we could just say he's insane. Welcome, Matt.
I don't think we have to leave to say that.
Yes, I don't think that saying I'm insane is anything new. It's not a sudden groundbreaking accusation.
You know what? That's fair. Wait, where the fuck is my warp stone? Hang on. Gerald, give me 1 second to find your alcohol. I need to find my drugs.
1. Okay, your second's up.
Holy fuck, okay.
Dwarves are so literal.
I'm
He
just doing
asked
it
for
because I
1
like to be
second.
asinine.
Well, that too, but he asked for 1 second, so I gave it to him.
Very fair.
Asinine is definitely a word I would use.
And more importantly, I'm pretty sure that's the first dwarf I've ever seen that's been asked a favor and did not ask for anything in return.
Don't tell him that.
What makes you think I haven't? Behind the
my goodness.
scenes.
No.
Ooh.
to our wonderful pocket dimensioning. Oh, by the way, here you go, Gerald. I don't know where this bottle's from. I don't know if it's expired. Enjoy. At any rate, to
Okay.
my cousin, from the cold north, please tell me that if there's any dwarves around here, around this honestly wonderful landscape, that they are not, or at the very least, they're a bit more tolerable than the ones from the old world.
Well, I'd say about as. I don't think it's much improvement.
Hmm.
A dwarf's a dwarf, no matter how you cut it.
So, shall I continue with my monologue turned dialogue?
I like a good villainous monologue. Go for it.
This isn't a monologue anymore, but whatever. So, this setting, Andilmiros, is a personal work of mine that I've been racking my brain over for a little bit of time. And I'll be honest, this isn't some literary masterpiece. That's never what I've intended it for. I am no Tolkien or R.R. Martin, I can guarantee you that. But to take things we already know and put a new spin on them, I do believe that we can create something that's easy to understand, yet entirely fresh and new. And that was my whole intention with this. This world does have elves, humans, dwarves, and many other facets that are common fantasy tropes in others. And I will
Twist
tell
I'm
you.
talking about here.
Sorry, pray tell.
What kind of twist? Like what? Like I'm interested to like know that because you said it's things flipped on their head, right?
Something like that.
How familiar would say like on a scale of say like 1 to 10, how much does your setting vary from uh the Tolkien-esque fantasy setting, with 1 being completely the same and 10 being batshit insane?
I would say the modern Andilmiros, as a good 6, represents the original work very well.
Okay.
But there is very many differences, I'll assure you. I might be morally bankrupt. I am not so creatively. Every race in this setting is different. Their motivations, cultures, beliefs, and actions hopefully portray a new interpretation to these common tropes. I'm trying to think of an easy way to describe this. Let's take the dwarves for the example. While they do live in mountains, and they are known for their techniques of smithing and metallurgy. I will tell you, they are not at all otherwise particularly similar in their motivations. The dwarves in this setting are a very callous, very spiteful bunch. They have a certain form of eternal life in which, as long as one's patent is used and persists, they shall live as long as the patent does. This, however, causes a lot of strife, obviously, considering the ideas of plagiarism and the like can lead to far more dire consequences than what we might know. Because you're literally trying to take someone's life away, if you think of it like that.
So this is like ultra fantasy capitalism and corporate espionage.
Somewhat. They're very, very tight-lipped about their inner workings. They don't share blueprints. The idea of taking something apart is very taboo. You know, reverse engineering is very much a not done thing, because after all, that would mean you're trying to steal someone's work. Now, mind you, other species, that doesn't matter. They aren't dwarves. So take all you please, but for dwarven technology to attempt to figure out their device. You are attempting on their life, you know?
Fair enough. So, what would happen if a different species tried to plagiarize a dwarf's work?
Well, it doesn't particularly matter because I don't wish to say in a blanket statement that they are worse in these trades, but the inner workings of dwarven technology is very, very labor intensive, very fine, hard work that is very hard to reproduce. So even if someone reproduces one item, it's far less dangerous than a dwarf doing so, because whenever one of their clans figures out technology, they figure out the fastest way to produce as much of it as possible. Because after all, the more you spread it out, the less you are in jeopardy of fading into obsolescence.
All right.
But yes, if I'll give you one more little bit of a tidbit to help explain them, but we'll actually get into them later. So, the god of wealth and luck is known as Callus, and is normally depicted as a large, portly gentleman who is well dressed and wealthy. However, in the dwarven lands, as they are actually descended from humans in a way, he is depicted as a great black dragon who has replaced all of his scales with coins of various mint and material, who jealously hoards his wealth.
Well, you got to protect what's yours.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it.
But I will get more into the dwarves later. So I'll ask you all a question. Would you prefer that I started with the timeline of ancient history, or would you prefer I started in the modern day and did an explanation of the different places?
I'm a sucker for timelines, so I'll vote that. But I'll see what Ray and Toasty decide they want to do.
I like the timeline idea too. That's what I was thinking.
All right. Well, it seems we have the majority, and I'm not going to wait for my elven cousin. So we shall start with the timeline. So, in the very, very ancient depths of history, Cordian scientists predict this about 20,000 years in the past, but this is an estimate. I can tell you from God's point of view, it is wrong. But that's how the timeline is labeled. So,
You're the god of this place?
of course I am.
I feel like
Why
we're all in
wouldn't I
danger.
be? I've been making moves, like I said. But
He made them in
either way.
Nagaroth. He's making them in the tavern. Who's to say where he'll end up next?
Pocket dimension. Either way, let us begin. Estimated approximately 20,000 years before the Cordian era, the continent is inhabited by the ancient elves and wildlife alone. Now, this is not to say that the lands did not have monsters. They did. However, they are all very different to what we know now. Just imagine more primitive primeval forms of everything, really. Everything's rough-hewn and, very primal. Including the elves. They are about 3.5 foot tall. They are bipeds, however, again, they are fairly little more than, woodland spirit monkeys is the easiest way to describe it.
Wait a minute. Did you just say that elves were what, 3.5 feet tall.
Yes.
This is harkening back to like old school elves, not the Tolkien-esque 6 foot, 7 foot, beautiful, gorgeous, ethereal beings that they are.
Well, elves are known for change in this setting, and I'll explain so later. But as this land was at the start, the elves had very few predators because they had a natural ability to produce pheromones, shall we say, that enchant would-be predators into living more peacefully with them. It's not to say they didn't die, but it is far less than one would think from a harsh primal existence. However, then in comes the Kansra. They are the manifestation of universal decay, is the easiest way to describe such things. They are more or less, I don't want to call them mortals, but they're beings which are spawned from when great celestial bodies die. They are, if you were to use the terms of Warhammer 40,000, they are shadows in the warp, per se.
I was going to say Star Children.
Instead of
Star Children.
instead of existing in an alternate, though parallel world, they are in this one, and they have a appetite to destroy what yet lives. And in a lovely, lovely motivation called "I need plot," they managed to find their way to Andilmiros. Now, Andilmiros is the continent that this story takes place on. The world has a name, and there are other continents with names. However, I'm going to leave them unnamed for now because I want to focus on Andilmiros, because that's where all the story takes place. I don't want to increase the breadth of everything and get lost in the space, you know?
Well, hang on.
Fair
Can
enough.
I ask a question, Dungle?
Sure.
All right. So this lovely world that you have crafted, this lovely pocket dimension, which tell me, where you buy one of these reality marbles? Because I have an idea in construction that I might need one. So if you happen to know someone on the black market, feel free to send one my way. But
We might work out a
regardless,
deal.
excellent. So the reason why I'm asking is you say the story takes place. Now, from what I understand, that this is a traditionally, not traditionally, this is a D&D setting from, like, this is a setting in and of itself. But is there
Correct.
more to it aside from story? Like, are there, for example, written texts that are potentially going to be written about the adventures and characters and notable figures that one might find on this planet and this continent in particular? Or is it
Yes.
strictly for the, shall we say, the oral tradition of
No,
storytelling?
it shall absolutely be both. I've been far more focused on writing the setting per se, but I do have plans for actually. I would honestly prefer to run them as tabletop games, but I could write them into books as well.
Excellent.
But
Just
I do have
curious,
a
'cause
couple of stories planned for this setting.
very cool. Because like you're presenting something that's myself and my fellow dwarven co-hosts have a very vested interest in when it comes to the concept of world building, shall we say, just not to the literal sense of getting a reality marble. Again, please, let's talk.
Maybe.
But
I
yes,
do
continue.
really
Sorry for that.
I do really appreciate like basically what you're doing is like with what 40K and Warhammer Fantasy are. They're settings, and so that gives you a lot of breathing room to just kind of like make a tabletop out of it, run a D&D campaign, hashtag join the Patreon if you want to find out about that. More on that later. But like and you just said that you have different stories in mind for at least for this here continent. So Yeah, just like what Ray was saying, this is like something that like we both have and I'm sure Toasty here too has like such a vested interest in exploring. So this is really cool. It's definitely got me hooked and interested. So
Oh, absolutely. So, anyway, where was I? Kensra?
yes,
Yes. So, they moved into the continent. The way they travel is very much slipping through space. They don't particularly need to travel by means in particular. They don't need vehicles, they don't need apparatus. They can simply will themselves to be somewhere else, and they will be there in time.
So is it like thoughts teleportation? Like, for example, let's say I'm thinking, oh, Paris, and then like I'll just phase into Paris. Is it something like that, or is it
Well,
like the
if it
Flash?
if it were something like that, if they knew where they were going, yes, it would be very quick. They'd be able to make it there in an instant. However, they are merely sending out their minds to find somewhere new to go to so they can do that.
Okay, so it's almost like not. I don't want to say an infection 'cause that's not what it is, but like they're basically just like extending their influence and whatever basically catches their attention or whatever world gets into their influence first, they'll just slip into that one first. Like it isn't like they aren't intentionally seeking specific worlds out. It's just they happen to slip into one world after another while they're just expanding outwards.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh, very interesting. I love this. All right, continue.
But yes, the Kansra, or at least some of them, find their way into Andilmiros. Now, this causes quite a few problems, mind you, because the most fighting the elves have done is amongst one another, though even that is rare, because they have no natural predators, and they literally have to find problems for themselves to solve. But now they have a very big problem that they're not used to fighting. Now, here's where I would like to introduce something listed in the monsters category, the dragons.
oh yeah,
So, the dragons in this setting are sentient, they are very intelligent, and they saw the Kansra come, and they assisted the elves and fighting them back. They could not wipe them out with their current armament, and the dragons knew this. They lacked. They're very long lived. However, the thing is, they are few because they are so powerful. So instead, they offered a choice to the elves, which is if you wish to wipe them out, you may join with us and we shall create something new. Or we shall leave you alone and let you sort it out yourselves. And of course, the elves absolutely accepted this offer. And so before I get into this further, allow me to clarify one point. The genetic makeup of elves is very A, dominant, and B, very flexible. They are able to crossbreed with a lot of different species.
so half elves is definitely a thing in this
Oh, yes.
setting.
Half elves are elves, but the thing is, oh, excuse me, half elves are absolutely a thing, and half elves are more or less elves. There are no half somethings in elven culture. They are simply, if they have elven blood, they are an elf.
So is that like a what's the there was a thing in real world history that like even if you're like so much of a percentage of a certain ethnicity, you are technically that ethnicity.
Correct. It's much like that.
Okay.
Though the funny thing is, elven blood is very hard to get rid of. So you could go 10 generations without an elven partner in that line, and there will still be elven blood in there. And a good fair bit of it as well. But yes, so the dragons not only offered courtship to the elves, they offered them the art of artifice, which is the use of magic and technology. Now, magic, as I describe it here, is not the same as what the modern setting uses by any means. Imagine gravity, goodness. Imagine magic as a lot of you are familiar with Halo, yes.
Yeah.
Imagine it
less.
more
Been a long
as
time there.
neural physics in that sense. It is manipulation of cosmic laws to achieve goals. There's no mana, nothing like that involved. It is simply, I know how to do this, and I shall circumvent natural law by doing it. So, the elves happily took these gifts and produced the first hybrid, known as the Draculum. About 200 hard-fought years later, the Draculum master the art of artifice. They have gained such an understanding to the way where they have been able to build great cities and walls against the Kansra. And not directly physical walls, but, you know, defenses.
So does that stop them from like mind warping themselves to wherever they want to be?
Yes, and using these defenses and newfound armaments against the Kansra, the first Kansra invasion is pushed back to the point where they must retreat. They are all wiped out, save for the few that escape. Much to the chagrin of the Draculum, but they don't know that yet.
Is there a point that these Kenstra actually came from, or is it just like they kind of phased in and out of existence? So it's not like a chaos invasion from a polar gate or anything like that.
No, they exist outside of natural law. They do not live. They do not die. They simply exist. It is in Destiny terms. I'm using all of these settings we're familiar with to try and give you a more easy to understand thing than going on about 30 minutes about blah, 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 blah. But I'm sure you noticed that already. Paracausality in Destiny. Much like that.
Okay.
But so these great cities are each in of themselves their own kingdoms. And after defeating the Kansra, they look at one another and decide, instead of trying to fight for power, it would be best to accept each other all as one people. And the Draculum clans form together into the Akkalian Empire. The Akkalians build massive infrastructure systems, transport water, roads. Apologies, I'm being attacked by a creature at my feet. Stop that. Damnable rodents. Anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, great infrastructure systems.
We'll get
including-
EXO on that.
Yes. Absolutely. But yes. In addition to the infrastructure, they also built great temples to venerate the dragons, as they view as both progenitors and gods. And with the uniting of all of these great city-states, the Akkalians decide the best way to rule is through a shared group monarchy known as the metallurgic hierarchy. And the metallurgic hierarchy has its ranks based on the quote-unquote worth of metals. It's a very easy way to see their they're standing in the hierarchy. You have platinum, gold, silver, steel, and bronze. And then below that, you also have some lesser metals like copper and tin, but those are more so local lordships. But essentially, each of these great city-states. 1 second. Apologies, a bit of pepper in my throat.
Ray, did you spike the warp dust with something?
Always. I always do. What are you talking about?
Okay, it must be doing a number on the Pirate King here.
My damnable cousin has snuck something into my drink, it seems.
Just a little spice.
But yes, each of these great city-states elect a golden king or queen, and they all vote on a platinum emperor or empress. And
That's cool.
with the leaders of the cities being the first minted gold royalty, they raise one platinum empress Jeta to the throne. And for a whole approximately 350 years, this empire continues to grow and advance, and they live in relative peace. But of course, as every wonderful story goes, bad things continue to happen.
We
Then
can't
the
have
Fire
nice
Nation
things, can we?
attacked.
No.
So, during this period, this 350 years, they discovered a reality-altering alloy known as Mundite. This allows for not only the disruption of metaphysical laws, but also the very same enforcement against breaches in those metaphysical laws. So it is both the cure and the cause. This will be important in a moment, and that's why I'm mentioning it. But, as I said before, foreshadowing's a bitch, as the second Kansra invasion occurs. And the Icalians, now unified, have a much stronger fighting force. And they manage to once again push the Kansra back. And they finally find where they're coming from. It's a place known as the Abyss of Sense. It is truly the great pocket of decaying star stuff in which all non-reality resides. And for the very first time, the Icalians chase the Kansra into this Abyss of Sense and fight them in their homeland. So, as the Icalian army is doing this, by this point, of course, Jetta is dead. It has been 350 years. And the current Platinum Empress, Jimha, confides in her Golden Kings and declares the construction of the Mundite Gate. Remember what I mentioned?
Mm-hmm. I think I see what you're. I think I get what you're dropping down here.
And she declares the construction of the Mundite Gate as the purpose of the Icalian people.
So this is a setup for ultimate failure or ultimate relief, right?
You'll find out. And with their first incursion into the Absence, also known as, it's the shortening of Abyss of Sense, they managed to collect some new, previously entirely unknown energy. And with their technological prowess and their projects already in line, the first prototype of the Soul Incarnium is built, and the first Proto-Incarn is forged. Now, I just said a whole bunch of science fantasy mumbo jumbo. Allow me to go ahead and define those terms. The Soul Incarnium is the easiest way to describe this, I guess, a refinery and I guess, pad for souls to be captured in. It Apologies, I'm just trying to find the way to word this. It captures the essence, right? The spiritual soul of a person, and it can search for specific ones. Though in its current stage, this very first prototype, it cannot do that, and it merely tries to grab the largest one it can find. And an Incarn is very much it's a product of artifice, which is a second body for a once deceased soul. It is entirely fabricated of metal. It is inlaid with precious metals, with some of this new energy that has been found in the absence, and along with their other scientific advancements. And the once dead Platinum Empress Jetta is brought back to the realm of the living in her new metallic form in this Proto-Incarn. And there are intermittent skirmishes, but other than that, there's nothing particularly exciting that happens for the next 50 years. However, at around 19,400 years before the Cordian era, once again, their timelines are wrong, the Mundite Gate is finished. It is a full, unyielding portal to the Abyss of Sense, and they can finally harvest the primeval star stuff, which forms creation on their own terms and not the terms of the Kansra. And Jessa, now known as the Soul Warden, the first Proto-Incarn, takes command of the forward base in the Abyss of Sense, which is known as the Mundite Citadel. The Incarn project reaches a workable stage, and the Incarn are able to be produced in small numbers and are known as the first generation. So more of these souls are used by the Soul Incarnium and brought back into Incarns. And these Incarns, lacking a mortal form, don't need much of any of the things a mortal might. So they are the perfect candidates for fighting in a very much hellhole for anything that's living, because you can't really exist there for too long. You start to fall apart.
Now, is this like quick question? Is this like you're given a new body, but then once that's destroyed, that's it? Or is it kind of like say a 40k Eldar, where as long as you recover the Soul Stone, and then you can put it in a Wraith construct, and they can keep coming back?
It is more the latter than the former.
Okay.
Though in this first generation, it is far harder to do that, because they They truly lack the technology. At this point, they're just kind of taking the destroyed vessels to the Sol Incarnium and hoping that it's just the strongest one around and picks it out of the destroyed body.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
An oddly inelegant solution for such a machine, but
So uncivilized.
so with their probing into this dubbed primeval star stuff, they decide to call it Primova. And the Platinum Empress Jimha declares the First Age is over and dubs the new era the Star Age. By using this Primova, they can reach further heights they never thought imaginable. They achieve a new technological zenith, and they leave the atmosphere for the first time and discover the Kanstra Shroud outside of the solar system. The Kanstra Shroud is a fantastically large gathering of these Kanstra forms that simply cannot project themselves into Andilmiros. The Icalians have warded the planet enough to the point where they cannot enter, but they are most certainly waiting for their chance where they can find a breach and push in. But with the discovery of the Kanstra Shroud, the Soul Warden leaves her citadel with her first generation and takes up a new throne. It is a flying nation crafted of Primova known as Melaron. And it takes to the stars to fight the Kanstra in their own shroud. And once again, we have a fantastically large jump of about 400 years, as nothing too notable happens in that time. However, as those of Melaron, the first generation, continue to fight the Kanstra, they encounter the remnants of a crumbling civilization known as the Gahad that push through the Kanstra Shroud, make their way into the solar system, and beg the Icalians for refuge. They obviously could not fight off the Kanstra as the Icalians had, and they just escaped and hoped for the best. And they begged for salvation in exchange for the secrets of their technology. And the Icalians agree. And using this newfound knowledge, they are actually able to perfect the Incarn project. And now, just about any soul can be interfaced with an Incarn, not just the strongest that the Soul Incarnum can find. It is a far more refined process, and thus now you have your comparison to the Eldar. And the fighting force of the Icalians is bolstered by billions. They are known as the second generation. One other thing that the Gahad share is their secrets on manipulating not just the laws of reality, but the laws of the universe. They are very limited, but it's enough to actually destroy the Kanstra for good. The actual death of Kanstra forms. And
now, how would you do that? Since you said they can't live and they can't die.
Correct. Easiest way to do it? Well, you're made of primeval star stuff. oh, wait a second. After I kill you, I just turn you into primeval star stuff, and you can no longer exist.
Fair enough.
And you remember what they're using that primeval star stuff for? It is fuel. They're using them for fuel. It is Primova.
Ah.
Not very nice.
And with their bolstered fighting force and the secrets of the Gahad, the Incarn are able to destroy the Canstra Shroud outside of the solar system. And for the first time, it feels like the Akalians can win. Without missing a beat, just 10 years later, the Platinum Empress Jimha, the Soul Warden, and the current Golden Kings write up the Dissolution Imperative.
Cool.
They come to the Gahad with this and say, we are going to go using the secrets you have given us and our technology. We are going to ascend beyond what this reality is and go destroy the Canstra where they truly exist. And in exchange, the Gahad are given care of the plant.
Bold move, Cotton.
So the Gahad agree to this, and the Akalians ascend both space and time and try to destroy the Kansra from the fourth dimension.
Okay, that's impressive.
Much easier to destroy something that's not three-dimensional if you're also not three-dimensional.
So why do I
saying you
feel
can
like
become a god?
They don't really
Instead.
become gods. They just simply they just take a step into the next dimension to go destroy their sworn enemy.
So why do I feel like this is a daddy left to go get milk scenario?
Because it kind of is.
Glorious.
And the Gahad, now seeing these great cities entirely empty, 99% of their population is gone. Only a few million of the Akalians are left. The Gahad use the technologies of the Akalians to create humanity, a race created in their image. They change their name to the Giad and gently lead their creations away from these cities and into small communes and teach them the very basics of agriculture and coppersmithing. They just give them the little push beyond hunter-gatherer and into the Copper Age. The great Italian cities use their technology to kind of, I don't want to say not exist, but they just phase out of corporality for these humans.
Wait, so they just like they leave or they just
No,
vanish?
they're still there. It's just simply put, they have taken it to they've taken it to the ethereal plane, more or less. They're exactly in the same
Okay.
spot, just a different plane.
Same location, but different plane of existence. So it's almost like going to like the Fey realm or the Underdark, or not the Underdark, the Shadowfell.
Something like that. I don't want to describe it as that because it's not so drastic. At any point, they can come right back, and Akalians are still doing things in Andilmiros at this point. But they're
So,
avoiding
like, okay.
the humans like the plague because they are a little vicious.
An inferior species.
Somewhat.
Something we can all agree on, I'm sure.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, like what? Two elves, a dwarf, and a Croxagore demon corn thing. I still can't figure out what you are.
My mother never loved me.
The fact you were born at all is a miracle.
I don't even know if I was born.
Probably not.
That cut deep. Dang.
You actually hurt the immortal lizard man.
And wow.
Just gonna sit in my corner.
Oh,
Please, corn likes
oh
me.
no, I have totally misread my lore. I totally forgot. No, they didn't. They didn't go into the ethereal plane. That was my mistake. No, they literally the humans just inhabited the cities, but didn't use any of the technology because they were too dumb to. They just lived in the park. I absolutely actually forgot about that.
Poor failers.
Because these cities were so fantastically large that, there's just a lot of open space that they could just inhabit. And the humans form into warrior clans and begin fighting for dominance. And at this point, the battles move beyond the ancient walls of the Akkalian capital into the Sea of Green, which is the great jungle to the south.
Okay.
And by doing so, they threaten the elves. In an effort to avoid extinction, the elves begin to rapidly procreate with almost any sentient species they can find in an effort to protect their lineage.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
As by this point, I should say, the last Draculum recede into their ancient tombs, resting within their Gnostic casks. The few remaining Incons stand in unending vigil to protect their living brethren for the return of their people from their centuries-long crusade. This is the point where these places start shifting out of existence. There are still, the cities are still there, but they take just most of the important things and just kind of phase them into the other plane. They still do leave essentially vault doors to this, so you can access it from the material plane. However, most of the things are in the ethereal plane. Forgive me, I was 200 years off. But all that remains.
The non-correct calendar.
Well, it's corrected now. But all that's really left is what looks like the ruins of civilization. Because there's nothing really left for the humans to inhabit other than the homes they've built. And centuries pass because humans are dumb and don't know how to evolve. Not well, at least. And by this point, these communes that have turned into city-states have finally started to form into proto-kingdoms. There has been very little progress in technology. Who would have thought? And those who are dissatisfied with the status quo of might makes right beg the Giad for a way to fight against their warlords. The Giads bequeath to them the most minor of reality-altering secrets dubbed Mystic. And, between these centuries of fighting, the elves have finally managed to interbreed so much they no longer have their original form. They now look quite similar to humans, quite to the, as earlier said, Tolkien-esque appearance. And they've developed into their own particular civilizations. And now here is where the timeline gets particularly shaky because people stop being good at writing down things. No, I'm just kidding. They're just really bad at leaving things at last.
Is it because they think it'll last forever? Is it because they think that
They
They're
don't
just-
think ahead.
okay?
But the ancient humans have fought for millennia amongst themselves and have advanced into ancient nations, far closer to the pre-medieval period. They have figured out the secrets of iron. They have managed to form kingdoms with sizable populations. And the Mystics have mastered their magics, shall we call them, and have dubbed themselves the first wizards. As we get into the more modern times, we're going to figure out that this name comes up a lot. They're kind of assholes. And millennia of strife and prayer has formed churches to the gods. And for the first time, the gods take a center stage for worship and grant their followers rewards for their faith. Now, if you remember, what did the Akkalians worship?
They worship the not the
It was the dragons, wasn't it?
yeah.
They worshipped the dragons. So imagine how they would feel suddenly not being worshipped. Now, keep in mind, this isn't the same dragons. This is nearly, 5 millennia after they've, they've last seen the Akkalians. The old dragons have died out, and a new generation is born. But the dragons were very upset with the Gahad making the humans, and now the so-called gods are being worshipped instead of them, and have usurped their roles as protectors. And the dragons declare that they have violated their ancient oath to their ancestors. And
So are the dragons just not doing much during the time?
they are more so in the background. They don't really need to do much.
That's why you're going to lose your worship. Going to go to the gods that give you stuff.
Well, that makes sense.
Remember,
But-
Toasty, we don't speak of things that make sense.
I'm not sure if it even made sense. I just said it.
But the dragons are reasonable. And for a century, they try and negotiate with the gods to step down, allow them to take their place, let them keep their role. Which is oddly contrarian to the actual original agreement, if you remember, where the Akkalians entrusted the Gahad to watch over Andilmiros.
Just a little sus.
And after a century of failed negotiations, the dragons finally declare the gods traitors and begin the War of Dissolution. Now it's a war between the gods and the dragons. Now, I should quantify this term of gods. The gods are people, they are mortals just as much as humans are, but not in the same way. They're a different level of strength, truly above. They can manipulate reality, like I said. Yada yada. I'm not trying to prattle on, but so the gods and the dragons, they are both decently numerous, and they begin to, I believe, as the kids say, kill the shit out of each other.
Hell yeah.
All right.
And in the first battle, the god who is in charge of time is killed. And that causes some particular issues.
I was just about to say, is this one of those scenarios where, like, the god of a particular attribute, if they're gone, then that causes things to go haywire?
At this point, not yet. There's still, the gods are plentiful enough where another one can take their place. But for the time being, it causes a whole lot of issues. But one of those nice things is that all of the quote-unquote mortals are essentially stuck in stasis for a very, very long time. And these gods and dragons fight for many, many millennia. Until finally, the new time god goes ahead and not only sacrifices themselves, but the role of time, and essentially encodes it as a hard law that cannot be destroyed in such a feeble manner. So thus, there's no god of time anymore. The whole role does not exist.
So time can flow naturally, and it cannot be traveled or changed or anything.
Not easily. There are still a very few select individuals who have that power, but you can't really do much to change the future in the past. Excuse me, can't do much in the past to change the future. Goodness me, this has been a wonderful episode for me to sound like a dumbass.
Because we're putting everything on you, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Stressing you out.
We are just fine. This is lovely. But honestly, after this, it gets far more into the politics between the gods and these ancient civilizations, because most of the dragons get their asses kicked and go upon the Great Migration and leave Andilmiros to the other continents.
Sounds like a good old classic case of fuck this shit, I'm out.
And the gods do not pursue. But
there must be some certain level of respect for them to not pursue the dragons, whereas the I'm already mispronounced it. The Kensra, thank you. Like for them to be hunted basically to extinction, but then for the dragons, like once they're out, it's just like, nah, you're good, fly away, bye, Felicia.
Well, again, the thing is the gods remembered their promise, and to essentially kill the children of the people that they made their promise with is very, very. They didn't like that idea. They didn't like having that war, but they could not let the dragons take over.
Fair enough.
So they beat them to the point where they would retreat and left it at that. The dragons no longer pursued their worship, and the gods left them alone. There are still some dragons in Andilmiros, and they remain unpursued. But I think at this point it'd be much better to move on to the different countries. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Because at that point, it moves on to closer to the war in heaven, and I don't want to get into that because that does have spoilers for the campaign, and I don't want to spoil it.
How kind of him.
It's all right. GW is already gonna be knocking on your door.
They can cry about it.
War in heaven.
Not the GW isn't the first one to use that term either.
I'm sure they're not, but they'll still fight for it.
Go ahead, come after me. I'm making no money on this product.
Yeah, even public domain stuff, they'll still try to trademark.
I don't care if his name is Malekith. I want it to be Malarian.
Ew. Sounds like
I
a
don't-
disease you get on a Saturday night.
I don't care if his name is Valerian. I want his name to be Malekith. But anyway,
Literally.
to the modern day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you pick a spot on the map and ask what it is. I think that'll be quite fun.
I can approve of that. Who wants to go first?
How about you, Ray? Since Toasty and I kind of somewhat know a little bit.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's one spot I'm looking at on the map, and it's like continuously drawing my attention. But it's like, do I dare do the obvious one, or
Well,
do I
do
do
it.
one of the? Well, I don't know because there's not very much on it. Like, I kind of want to do the Untamed Isle because, like, I already have like a preconception of like what's on there. But like, I'm also like, but like these cities though, like, do I care about the mysterious, probably uninhabited location, or do I care about the politics and trade routes and taxations
So
and the
here's the
feudal
thing:
system of the?
it's not uninhabited. These are the cities depicted are more or less capitals or damn near
Okay,
big enough to be capitals. It's just the
okay, I
Untamed
wasn't sure if
Isle
those look
is
like.
mostly smaller warring nations.
Oh, okay. Well, definitely, I definitely want to cover that one. Then let me know about the Untamed Isle.
Fantastic.
Who named it the Untamed Isle is another question because like the name of a place tells you just as much about the people who live there as much as the people who are naming it, right? So like
Yes. So the
proceed.
original inhabitants, the beast folk,
Ooh,
along with
okay.
the Therianthropes, did not name it. They really didn't care.
Too busy fighting.
The inhabitants of Sinna, on the other hand, are the ones who named it. They are the ones who discovered it, and they are the ones who named it.
Okay. So this is just all the animal folk who live here. Like I'm assuming you haven't mentioned them, but I'm assuming the Yuan T, like potentially if you have that as just an existing race. But like
Yes,
I'm imagining like anyone who is considered like semi-bestial, semi-humanoid would be here. So like that's interesting.
not
So like I'm assuming you have like
not
your
particularly
Leonins and
the not particularly the Yuan Ti or Leonins. They all fall under the beast folk.
yeah, okay.
Don't count us all in together.
They they descend from the divine beasts, which were the generals of the gods in the war in heaven. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to again get into it.
That sounds fucking cool. All right, I'm interested. Continue. Who's
But
next? Gerald, you can.
no, I'm going to tell you about the Untamed Isle.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't know if there was more.
Oh, there absolutely is.
Okay, great, excellent. Continue. Sorry.
But these beast folk, they war for dominance on this island. It is decently developed, not technologically, mind you, but there are several cities on this island. They are all fighting for power. They are fighting for worship, funnily enough, because they are descended from the divine beasts. And if people worship a beast man or a therianthrope, they can actually gain a modicum of power from it and become stronger. They also just kind of like it.
That's cool.
But
Alright,
yes, a bunch of warring cities of beast people, and they do come mainland and do try and fight people,
Of course.
and others come mainland to just hang out because not every one of them is a bloodthirsty monster.
So do they come for war, to raid, or they're like, "Man, we
Yes,
need
they'll
food."
come to raid, they'll come to fight. Their motives are just as varied as the types of beastmen there are. They truly they live there because they're there. They come to the main continent because they can, or they want something from the main continent, or oh hey, I just realized I'm on a boat. I fell asleep. Now I'm here.
Gerald.
Hey.
No, he's got a point.
They're they don't have a unified society. It is a very very many moving pieces.
Okay, like warring states period, or
Yes, very much so.
okay, okay. And like, what's the terrain like? Because like these are islands. Are they like mountainous? Are they like flatlands? Because like I'm
So
just
this is not particularly to scale. I
yeah.
put it where it was. It is far further out than where it
Okay.
is on this map, and it is quite larger. It's just I didn't want it to intersect too much with everything else. It's
No, and
probably
like you would
about
base
twice as large as depicted.
like just in every direction. Like it's like these are just
Yes,
like massive islands. Okay.
just scale it up times two. And it's not like
Okay.
massive islands. There is smaller islands broken up in that spread. Just imagine the
Yeah.
space it takes up is about twice as much.
Okay. So like twice as big islands are about the same size, if not smaller. They're just spread out
I
across
wouldn't
like
I wouldn't say that. There are larger islands than that.
okay.
However, there
Okay.
are smaller islands interspersed as well.
Okay. That's cool though. I can see why it's called the Untamed Isle, and the fact I'm honestly interested as well about the fact that it's like it's a bunch of like it's like an archipelago, right? Off the coast, it's an archipelago, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So like typically archipelagos are like I remember doing a lot of research on them, and so like I just find the idea that this could be just one giant landmass under there. So like it's just a cool concept to like imagine just how big it is, and like if this is where the beast race is, I like to imagine that there could also be like merfolk there, but like given the
Yep.
fact that it's under the ocean, like merfolk could be anywhere on honestly, but like that
There
could just
are
be like
underwater cities, yes.
yes, okay, perfect. I'm glad that I'm catching on. See, I got the same mindset. All right.
Who is next?
Let's see here. Um, tell me about. Tell me about the far north.
The, the Killing North?
Sorry, the Killing North. Yeah.
So the Killing North is in the same way as the Untamed Isle. There are not I don't want to say that there's not much of any city up there. It is only the hardiest of races that can survive. The giants, the giant variations of animals that you encountered last session, things like that. There are dragons in the Killing North. Um, Simply put, it is so terribly cold and inhospitable that no one wishes to enter it. But they do have inhabitants. There are wars being fought in the Killing North, just not to the scale of everywhere else.
All right.
And I guess I'll describe Frast for you as well, considering it's pretty connected. And that was honestly, sadly short. Frast is the northernmost nation which borders the Killing North. They have tested the waters of how far north can you go and make a civilization without dying. And the answer is Lilliking. But yes, they are a very hardy people. They a lot of half giants live in Frost. Plenty of humans. They do not worry about their southern neighbors because they have a great deal of mountains separating them from Cordiai and the in between Portio and Sorche. Excuse me. Sorsha is a part of it, but Portio and Tuslo, they don't have the strength, they don't believe, to mount an invasion. It is generally, particularly, almost always winter up there. I don't want to say it's constantly covered in snow because that's not true. It does get up to the nice 50s in the summer, at least in Kalispar. But yes, they're just a very hardy folk. They don't really have much going on other than that. They mount invasions into the Killing North to prove themselves as warriors and survivalists, but none of them have managed to make a actual claim to the Killing North.
And they themselves don't seem too concerned with invading the South or anything.
Nope. They don't have a lot, but what they do have is well defended by very, very strong men and women.
And for the sake of our high elf donut boy here, would you care to describe at least the half giant that was encountered in the previous session?
Absolutely. I'm having to pull up my notes so I can remember his name.
And I believe the party called him Kevin, but that wasn't his actual name.
Hey, half giant or frost giant?
He was
That
a
was a
half
half
giant.
giant. Half
Yeah,
giant, yes.
okay.
His name was Quim. He is a Jotun blood half giant.
Yes. Okay.
So all half giants are naturally very large, about 10 to 14 foot tall. The thing that's special about the Jotun bloodline is they are naturally survivalists and they are adept in illusion. So they have an innate ability to take the form of a more medium-sized creature, or like a regular-sized person in less game terms. And some of those hunters have been hired by Cordi to help deal with the very thick magical forest they may have. Because I'm not sure if I said it, but you guys kept heading northeast towards Frost to go deal with that quote-unquote cult.
Yes.
New friends.
The laws of nature.
The laws of nature. As the elk head flies off into the sunset. You guys will never see him again.
Maybe.
Oh, by the way, it's been an act the entire time. Me sounding glorious and beautiful. All an act.
I can't believe it. My immersion's broken.
Shocker.
It'll never be the
Got it.
same.
The illusion's broken. The tavern will never be the same again.
Oh, it's fine. I'll keep it up normally. But yeah, anyway. So,
I'm honestly surprised you held on to it this long.
I was kind of wondering. I'm just like, can I do it the whole time? I'm like, I could, but like, why?
Almost.
But yeah. So, Quem was about 12 foot tall. He had blue-gray skin and red eyes with black sclera. He had a gigantic great bow and I believe I said a spear.
And a big puppy.
Yeah, and he had a couple of giant hunting wolves with him. Somebody looked it up and said they're specifically the size of elephants. Because up north they get big.
Pet that dog.
Can't pet
But,
that dog.
Yeah, so let's point out another place. You'll tell which ones actually have more stuff written about them and which ones are more story important by how much I say. How strange.
The little island at the bottom, Udo.
Udo. All right. Udo is a pirate nation, funnily enough. They live by themselves. They live by no rules, other than more or less thieves' honor. They go all across the continent of Andilmiros, and they raid where they can. They take what they can, and no matter what, if you can make it to Udo, um, you're going to be safe from your crimes, because very few are willing to push into Udo to try and catch you. It is. You can find just about anything in Udo. Anything that's made and sold can be found there. Obviously, acquired in very non-legal methods, and it is a melting pot of just about any race, but it's more so specifically the scumbags of any race.
No way, not pirates.
I know, right? But yeah, the Shimmering Bay is their main and only like city on Udo. Uh, Nobody else has really given enough of a shit to try and make another city there.
Ain't got time, too busy plundering.
Exactly. Like you got your boat, you got the Shimmering Bay. What the fuck else do you need?
Try it.
But yeah, it is a very humid, decently temperate island. Lots of foliage, lots of trees, and yeah, a great place to hide out if you are on the wrong side of the law.
I feel like that's going to have to be a stop for us at some point.
Who knows? All right, where next?
Nobody else has any ideas. That mountain hole down there at the bottom too.
Mount Hale. All right.
Hail.
Yeah, Mount Hale is the gigantic volcano off the end of the continent. And funnily enough, it has some very interesting magical properties. It is directly a portal to some of the other planes, specifically Hell.
Oh, nice.
And in this setting, mind you, in Andilmiros, they're not the only ones who have fought against Rock. They've been in other dimensions too, including the Abyss and Armageddon, I believe it's called, for the demons and daemons, respectively. And they lost, and they all came to Hell. And now Hell is a giant demonic melting pot.
Nice.
And now, essentially, all three of the words are interchangeable, except you shouldn't say that to them. They don't like that very much.
Fair enough.
But yeah, all three of them live in the same place. And the only word that isn't applicable is daemon with the DEA. That one is no longer applicable. That is used for something else.
Sorry, I was muted earlier. So what do they prefer to be called if demon
They
is
prefer their specific title. They're going to be a little bitch about it, like all of them would be. Of course, some are better about it than others, but they're all prideful assholes. Just some of them are lawful about it. Some of them are gonna like kick you in the nuts over it. Again, really, it just you got to get lucky and know who you're talking to. Just hope your kind flies.
You people.
More or less,
What do you
yeah,
mean?
because you don't want to call a demon a devil, and you don't want to call a devil a demon.
Can't wait to go there.
Them's fighting words.
And funnily enough, they have some very deep ties with the elves. Because who would have thought a bunch of long-lived, simple fucks wouldn't have gone into the giant mountain and saw people coming out of it and said, "Hey, I want to go there." But yeah, for I'd say millennia, for a millennia, I should say, elves and those of hell have been intermingling for quite a while and have some decent political ties.
Well, that sounds like heresy there.
Yeah, depends on who you ask.
Friendships.
But yeah, so in terms of hell, so just for brevity's sake, I'm going to call them demons. They can come fight me over it. I really don't care. But they have a very, very much advanced technology. They don't do magic at all. They're actually incapable of magic, save for a few lucky folks with some attuned blood. But they are proficient in curses, which are a different type of thing. All I'm going to say is magic by this point is the magic you know. It's not the manipulation of universal laws. So just keep that in mind. It all has to do with the war in heaven. That's all I'll say. But yeah, they actually are more or less stuck between the imagine 1970s and 1980s in terms of technology.
Heck yeah. They got bell bottoms.
And disco.
They do.
Yes.
And the prevalent theory of aliens is fully applicable because on more than one occasion, some random peasant has seen a jet fly over them and think it's like an alien or, oh, wait a minute, a devil. Who would have thought? How apt.
Be not afraid.
Are you telling me there's a chance we could encounter Mothman?
Hypothetically. I won't rule it out.
Yes.
Don't
The
give
Jersey
'em
Devil.
But yeah, do we want to keep showing through all of this, or do you think this is just about a good place to wrap it up? I know I didn't cover much of any of the current continents. I can keep going for a couple minutes, but I just figured I'd ask because we're running on like an hour, coming on hour 30 here.
Yeah, I think we can keep going for a little bit longer. What does my elven co-host here think if he hasn't passed out from the warp dust? Ray?
I am not passed out. What the fuck are you talking about? I
There
was
we
accidentally
go.
muted, and that is annoying because I was talking. This is irritating.
Oh no!
I was making a comment.
How long have you been
Uh,
talking?
Talking the whole time. Like, why is everybody talking over me?
I was being polite. I thought you were talking over me, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll be quiet. I won't say anything." Or like, I'm pretty sure someone
All right.
interrupted me, and I'm just like, "Okay, never mind then, I guess."
So yeah, I guess we'll keep going for a little bit.
Yeah, I am
I
fine.
guess I'll
Keep
keep.
going. I'm super invested.
Yeah, I guess I'll keep describing hell, considering it's what Mount Hale more or less is. Yeah, so they have nobility, very much like our regular English nobility system, which is very commonly described. So hell had to expand with all of their new inhabitants, and they have about 16 layers now instead of the normal 9. you know, a la Dante Alighieri's Bible fan fiction. But
Yeah, basically.
yeah, and they no longer correlate to specific sins. It's more just like hey, you bought land on level 7. I hope you like elevators.
And really bad elevator music.
No, and how
You
it's
know,
always elevator music.
out of everything I wrote for this world, I never considered infernal elevator music. That's something I'm gonna have to think about. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I feel like it's like jazz or something that you would totally not expect in hell. Like you would literally be like, "What the fuck?" Or like country. It would be like country elevator music, and you're just like, What is this folksy bullshit?"
I
I
wouldn't
don't know.
mind
I
the
just
jazz
imagine
so
it's
much.
I imagine it's all just like funk, and the entire ride is just incredibly awkward as you're just looking at each other. You're like, this goes hard, but like we're standing in an elevator. This is totally unfitting.
Actually, no, that's a good point. Yeah, it's something you want to like jam out to, but the elevators are also like considerably smaller. So it's like not only do you have like this amazing music, but you also can't move. It's like one of those old school, like it's an old school 1930s elevator that you've seen in like a rich person's house with the metal gates, and there's only like enough room for two people.
All right, it's canon.
It's in the notes now.
Oh,
It's canon.
oh, and the
Yep.
door doesn't close properly. It's just like you have to like do it 3 or 4 times, like jiggle the key before the elevator actually starts moving. It
Yep.
only
You
moves
see,
when the door's closed.
you see, hell is here to punish the demons just as much as it is to punish the victims.
Yeah,
I guess
it's
it's
absolutely got turned around with how everything was. It was originally, designed for a purpose. Now it's just, post corporate hellscape where people are just trying to figure out what to do. The nobility's doing the nobility thing. The normal people are trying to, work their jobs and see what's going on. But, Harry in the, lava pit of death, the guy managing that really kind of doesn't know what to do anymore because they're not really throwing people in the lava pit of death like they used to torture them.
Back in
Now
the
it's
good old
just
days.
like, now it's just like people just don't show up here at all. And like, what are we supposed to do?
Back in my day, we made the sinners squeal.
Now I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. I don't know how I got into a mortgage as a demon.
It all changed when hell went woke. Started having HR.
Fantastic.
Literally hell resources.
Oh my gosh. All of these great things going into the notes for later.
Yes.
But
Sadly, it's not okay to whip your people who you send to hell anymore. That's not allowed. Apparently, they unionized.
yep. But yeah, funnily enough, the denizens of hell and Cordy are very much at each other's throats in a Cold War because the Cordians are still using artifice to this day, which was outlawed by the gods in the War in Heaven, and the denizens of hell have a very long memory. And they're like, "Hey, this shit sucked. Don't do it again." And they're like, and Cordia is just like, "Nah, I'm built different. We got this." So yeah, they're very much poking at each other militarily. They can't really go to full war with each other, but they're absolutely just pulling strikes against each other and the like, trying to
so
see if
without
someone's going to make a big move.
so without going full blown spoiler or anything, why can't they actually get into a hot war or anything?
Well, they could, but it would just leave such a massive death toll. It just wouldn't be worth it.
Ah, easy
Because here's
enough.
the thing: the Cordians like the elves, and Hell likes the elves, and the elves are right in the middle of both of them.
So what I'm hearing is we got plot armor.
Eh. If the gloves got to come off, the gloves got to come off. But a lot of people are going to die if a hot war breaks out. So instead, they both just agree to keep poking at each other with a cold war.
Poke over a stick. I want to poke over a bigger stick.
Yeah. Yeah, very few of the other nations like Cordia.
Does anyone blame them?
Not really. But yeah, other than that, like I said, Hell has its nobility. They have archdevils, which are the infernal equivalent to the gods. So they're the only other place that actually has a quote unquote divine figure.
Now, is there like a big Satan, Lucifer analog, or is that something completely separate?
There is no king of hell, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not
Yes.
unified in any means. The unification is, hey, I don't want to get wiped out by destroying you, so let's just not destroy each other. And they're like, yeah, okay. But anyway, I still dumped my old couch on your lawn, so fucking cry about it.
Fair enough.
Okay, what are you gonna do about it? Attack me? Yeah, then what? We'll both die.
More or less, more or less.
It's basically just them shitting on each other, they're trying to start shit with the other person, but they know that they can start shits.
It sounds like the annoying sibling that goes, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
Yeah, exactly. Also, there's one thing I would like to note specifically about this setting. Cats are, in fact, hellspawn.
I approve.
And if you hold up a cat, right, and position its tail in the right direction towards Mount Hale and look through its eyes, it acts as a telescope into hell. Just
Oh
so
my
you're
God.
aware.
That's absolutely amazing.
Not many people know how to
Fantastic.
do it, so they believe it's a myth. But some people still figure it out.
Are there also cat people?
Yes, there are.
I'm picking up a cat person.
That's not going to work the same. Good luck.
Look into my eyes.
It's very specifically house cats. No other cats are from hell.
Damn it. I could see it. I always thought cats were from hell.
Yeah,
I
any
was
of the
doing-
larger, more wild cats, totally normal. House cats, hell spawn. They're actually just a really dumb variety of imp. Not really, they're their own thing now, but you know.
They can become their own thing. That's cool though. I like that. So
Absolutely.
are they actually imps? Like, or I guess like a subvariant of imp rather?
You could say that.
Okay.
They don't possess a particular weakness to cold iron. Uh like devils or demons do, but they can sense magic and they don't particularly like it.
Interesting.
Well, that's not all of them. There are absolutely cat familiars,
Of course,
but they
there
do
should
it.
be.
But they do it for power.
The cats
As
or the
cats
person.
do.
The cats will follow people, wizards around for power. They're like, hey, look, this dipshit thinks it's in control of me. All I have to do is, like occasionally cast a spell, look around where he tells me to, and knock off only like half of the bottles off the shelf, and I get free food and access to all of the spell books I want while he's sleeping. This is fucking great. But
Step 4, profit.
but they're also, they have the intelligence of a 3-year-old, so they're not that smart. All right. Cat distraction completed. Where else do we want to talk about?
Let me see. Okay, so I don't know if this counts as a location, but Ultian Golf, is there anything we got on that golf? Because like for some reason I'm interested in that.
Other than like you said, sea living folk, under the sea. Not really. It's just the gulf between the main continent and Uto.
Okay, I wasn't sure. And is it named Uto because is it named Utian because it's next to Uto? Is that why?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Because such a small little island nation causes so many problems. They name the Gulf
That
after the people.
you know what? That actually makes a lot of that's actually really clever. I approve of that. So like they control so I'm assuming the pirate basically the pirate that whatever it is, because whatever it is, like they must control like this they control the Gulf basically, or is it just
They
that
don't
because of
really
their
they don't really control it per se, but so here's the thing. Cordy has a massive naval presence.
yeah, I would imagine they probably have access. Oh well, yeah, because they have the entire coast, right? They have the entire
Yeah.
southwestern coast almost, minus the part that's Mardian. But yeah,
Yeah, so they don't let Uto land on their shores, is all I'll say.
that's
But
cool.
yeah, normally the Cordian Navy is used for fighting monsters, like sea monsters. So pirates are kind of, small fry in comparison to that.
I could
Yeah,
see
when
that.
you're
I understand that.
when you're taking a warship to fight a giant kraken, the stupid guys in a wooden boat seem kind of stupid. So I'm gonna go hit them with my cannon.
Go ahead, Emma.
All right, so because I didn't count, you get another one. What's your next pick?
Who wants to go for it?
I guess it's Toasty. I don't think he said one yet.
Who?
Toasty. It seems like our demonic friend is losing warp energy.
Damn.
Indeed.
Let him snort some stones.
All right.
Yeah. It had no effect.
Where else? We got probably, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 choices left.
Let's do Espet.
Espet. All right. So Espet is the only nation which has humans, which is also favored by the gods. So the
Because
gods
it
at
has
this point,
humans?
what's up?
Because it has humans, or just like the gods
No,
just like this place? Okay.
the gods just like this place. The reason it's special is because it's the only, decently human majority nation that is liked by the gods. The gods by this
Okay.
point do not like humans. So they have a very deep connection to the gods. In fact, so much to the point where this is the majority of the Asimar Nephilim population live,
Okay.
along with a great quantity of beastmen as well. They are very much in tune with magic. They don't use too much technology, and they have a great respect for the laws of the gods.
See.
They are generally left to their own devices, but from the north, nomadic orc tribes have absolutely invaded Espet several times to try and take some stuff out. Imagine the Mongols and the Chinese.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the long and short of them without getting into too much.
All right.
I guess Mardian's right there, so we'll go for that one.
Let's do it.
So Mardian is a very much neglected piece of the continent. There's not really much that's great there. Just the land is arid, not great. It's kind of just generally poisoned by all the blood being spilled there. The whole reason that there's a whole lot of blood being spilled there is essentially the orcs are the favored people of the god of war, which is Garja. And he blessed them. So, yeah, in the
Like,
war in heaven,
does
the
he
god.
like them and then bless them, or did they just earn his blessing because of how strong they naturally were?
Well, here's the thing: in the war in
Okay.
heaven, the humans who fought for Garja,
Yeah.
um, Garja imbued them with the blood and mud of the battlefield and mutated them into the orcs.
Okay.
And that was his blessing to them. They are incredibly strong, incredibly resilient, great endurance. But due to their blessing of the war god, they can never truly seem to find peace. Every time it seems like they have a great thing going, they have no cities. They're all nomadic because it seems like every time they set up a city, it gets sacked by something or a great, storm comes in or it burns down. It's just never great.
Some would say sus.
Indeed.
Interesting. It just fated for it to happen, basically.
Yeah, it just kind of just comes about. It's very strange. All right. You want to keep going, or do we want to leave it here? I mean, I'm fine with that right now. I can describe the rest in the as we're doing the game and all that, so it's not a particularly big deal to me. I can cover everything if you like, though.
What are we at right now? We're at 2 hours.
Yeah, we're like
coming on.
almost 2 hours. I mean, I still feel like we're barely scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Correct, but
And
I also
also-
don't. Like I said, this is going to take like 5, 6, 7 hours to fully cover, and I don't feel like really doing that. So maybe you just leave it here for now and do a part 2 some other time.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Actually,
So-
hang on. Let me ask one question. Hang on.
Incorrect.
So
No.
this is more just related to Mardian, because Mardian and sorry, what's the other one? Cordai? Is that how it
Cordia,
is?
yes.
Cordii. Okay. So these are two, from what it looks like, aside from some Incent, I'm assuming that's what it's pronounced, are two fairly big nations. Now, these two nations are very close together. Do they like what is their relationship? Just the relationship is what I want to know.
The
Like,
relationship is the Cordians have considered going into Mardian and taking it over so they can continue
Okay.
to expand. But the
Okay.
thing is that all of their attempts to do so have found them thwarted. For a bunch of tribal or not tribal nomadic warriors, oddly enough, for all of the technological superiority that the Cordians have, they just can't seem to win their engagements.
So
But
it's
anytime,
basically their ability. They are basically so good they can compensate for their lack in technology.
To a point, I would very much say it's more so, oddly enough, the war god looking out for those orcs. And who would have thought giving a shit ton of burdens to the people who are defying the laws of the gods?
Fair. Because like that's kind of I was wondering. I was like, why hasn't this place been like completely conquered at this point? And like it's a fairly big space of land, and typically two nations that occupy such a massive space, there has to be some relationship between them. So
Yeah,
I was just kind of curious, like why isn't Cordia just like kind of just absorbing them?
it's because they've tried and failed.
Cool. Do you have like like rough like would you say it's a consistent thing that they attempt, or would you say that like
I'd
they
say they
had like
try once every few decades.
okay, so it's like a pretty consistent thing, but it's also a pretty like we try, but like if we do take territory, we can't hold it. It's like taking Dorne in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly. It's just they can't hold it.
Okay.
Because here's the
Yeah,
thing, they
okay.
can
And
just
plus
move in and just build a settlement because fucking um there's rarely anything there to stop them for a time. But then nomads come across that settlement and raid the shit out of it.
yeah.
And then it becomes war. And then all these orcs see that there's war going on, and they want to get their fair share of that sweet cordial loot.
Yeah. So it makes more sense just to retain your forces and like at best garrison the border.
So, funnily enough, the orcs are one of the most. They have one of the better technological. They have some of the more technological savvy races, but not because of any inventions of their own. It's simply just because they've taken it from the Cordians. Like imagine, like a Mongol living in a yurt with his 5 horses, but he's also got an Xbox One and a fridge.
Okay.
So yeah, they got uh, the orcs do have some magic cylinders they've taken from Cordian soldiers. They've probably taken a couple vehicles, but have kind of just considered them not worth driving, so they kind of just keep them in the center of town as like a trophy. Um, they'll absolutely take armor that they have to refit because they are very big, and the people they fight are generally not so big. But yeah, it's very very good stuff that they like taking, and anything they don't take, they can generally sell to the dwarves. The dwarves will buy it for material and melt it down.
As you do. As you do.
Because the dwarves don't care about Mardian because their only set of mountains is super far south. And they're like, listen, man, we all got our shit up here. We're not going all the way down there to go do that. At least it's only happened twice, so they haven't really done it too much. They don't like having neighbors. That's the thing. At least not neighbors they can keep an eye on. And it pisses them off to no end that they'll set up an observation post for a settlement of orcs, and by like the next week, they'll be moved on. And they're like, what the fuck was the point?
Like, we just spent 2 weeks setting up camp, and they just left. Damn it!
More or less, yeah. Well, yeah, does that answer your question?
I think it does, yes. I was just curious about that because again, I want to ask a question.
I'm happy to answer it. But yeah, I think
Yes.
that's a good place to leave it for now. Part 2, whenever you guys want, I'll be happy to do so.
Sure thing. And I think we also need to have, I think Dwaga needs to come back for his part 2, so we'll have a queue set up
Yes.
or something, so.
Yeah, whatever you want, just let me know. And of
But,
course, you guys who are actually playing it will absolutely be learning more of the lore too. So feel free on the Patreon to check out the episodes we've been posting. And yeah, you guys will be able to obtain more lore on the setting of Andilmiros through that as well.
Yep. And speaking of Patreon, I know we haven't really shilled for this too terribly much, but if you've lasted this long, well, thank you for listening. And if you like this kind of content, this kind of material, where we talk about Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, any kind of grimdark settings, or even some homebrewed world building, such as what Dungle has provided with us today, you can join our Patreon. And so we start as low as $1 per month, and then it goes up from there, depending on the kind of perks that you want. It's a lot of fun stuff. And yeah, so it's just patreon.com/grimlore. And then come join our Discord. Must be 18 or older to join. But ask Ray or myself. We're both pretty active on like Lorehammer and stuff like that too. So don't be afraid to seek us out and say hey. Ray, do we have any announcements before we wrap things up?
Hmm. Did we want to announce the thing we wanted to announce, or do you want to do that for a fantasy-related episode?
If I'm being completely honest, I completely forgot what we were going to announce. So let's wait for the fantasy-related episode.
Sure. For sure.
But
Otherwise, no.
Okay. Well, in that case, dear Toasty has been summoned back to the warp. I think Korn needed him to take care of a some guy named Angron from very far into the future. I don't know anything about that, but so but without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and thank our very special patrons, and then we're going to get out of here. And I'm not going to be shoved back into that footlocker. Thank you. So, to the Honorable Grail Knight Sir Flub de Montfort, the Noble Chaos Dwarf Slappy, the Imperial Dwarven Knight Astronautical, the Trickster Noble of Zinch Warper, the Noble Powerlifter of Nurgle Big Joe G, the Noble Island Pirate Dwarf King Admiral Terror Warlord Exodite Replacer Cetera Lover and the Night Smoker the Oven Pipeweed Electric Priest Boat Master Founder of James Complaints Part Man Part Fish Fan of the Atomic Bongo Marquino Chicken Farmer Secret God Emperor Dad Hammer Storyteller of the Farmer's Wife Man of the Machete Airbnb Host Crew Fanboy Curdlet Hunter Magic Deck Builder Arbites Fanboy Fisherman in Panama Lorehammer Host Listener Lore Host Phil Talker Mark and V Host Painter the Night Split the Eternal the Flawless Sinesh Collector the Dwarves Erebor Lorehammer Revivals the Enshrouded He Who Reads Lore the Canadian Panamine aka Trevor Bezak and Father Mark from Lorehammer, the Noble Scryer Skaven, Exoflaklaw, the Wizard Noble of Zinch Magnus the Rad, the Druki Pirate King, Dungledoo Scalecock, thank you very much for your patronage, sir. The Noble Priest of Slanesh, Zane Leopard, the Croxagore Knight of Corn, Toasty, and the Errant Plague Knight, De las Rosas. So thank you all very much for making this a lot of fun, making this happen, and thank you for enjoying this lovely bonus episode. So if you two have some world building that you want to share, feel free to join our, I believe we call it our Sigmar tier on the Patreon. So just look that up, and then we'll go from there. So I got nothing else to add. So.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me host this episode, and hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it wasn't too scatterbrained.
No, this is fantastic. I want to delve into it more, but it's like 2:00 in the morning my time.
Figured it was a great time to cut it off because, yeah, like I said, it was going to take time. So that gives you a great feel on how everything kind of got created, how everything is now. There's a great gap in the middle, but that's on purpose because I don't want to spoil it. Because you guys will find out later in the campaign what the deal is with that.
Fair enough, and thank you very much and for doing this. And that's the thing with world building, as one of our commenters just pointed out. This does take a while to fully explore, especially if done right. So this, I can tell, this is definitely on a very good, this has a very good start to it, and I'm very interested to see where it goes. So,
As am I. I'm very interested. I would like to learn more about about basically everything you have.
Yeah, I'm happy to share it anytime. Just let me know when you guys want a second episode. I'll be happy to host it.
sounds like a winner. Well, have a good night, everybody.
Bye.